Welcome back, truth seekers, to another episode of Mindfucks with Mahara. I'm your host, Mahara Wayman, and today we're going to look at something that's probably making you break out in hives already: your addiction to validation. Oh, know what I'm talking about? You heard me right. That constant need for someone else to tell you that you're doing good, you're on the right track, you're worthy, baby. It's time to call bullshit on this whole approval seeking circus. And I am excited to be the one to do that. All right, here is the truth, folks. Every time you wait for someone else's stamp of approval, you're basically handing over your power with a pretty little bow on top. And honey, that has to stop right now. Okay. I want to tell you about my own validation addiction. I want you to picture this. I'm sitting here. Yes, this was fairly recently, sitting right here in my beautiful purple office. And I'd been staring at an email that I'd written. And well, first of all, I'd written it tons of times, probably at least 10 times I'd rewritten it. And I caught myself going, why do I keep rewriting it? Well, I was terrified to send out an idea for a new program without running it first by literally everyone I knew. My business coach needed to approve it, I thought. My mastermind group needed to voice in and give me their opinion. Oh my God, my husband needed to understand it, which is a joke because I don't share anything with him. And probably I needed my neighbor's dog to wag its tail at it. It was ridiculous how I was procrastinating on taking action on my own greatness because I felt I needed somebody else to tell me that it was okay. I was so deep into my personal validation trap that, honest to God, some decisions just eluded me. I couldn't decide what to eat for lunch one day. I have everything available in my house for me, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to have a salad or a sandwich. Swear to God, a sandwich had me in knots for a good 5 minutes. That's when I realized that I had completely lost touch with my own inner knowing. I've been talking about this more recently, this idea that, wow, there's a wisdom inside of us that many of us have lost touch with. So my breaking point came fairly recently. I want to say bending point, but okay, my bending point came fairly recently when I was working with a client, and she was absolutely crushing it. And then she said something that really hit me like a ton of bricks. She said, I just need to know if I'm doing this right, Mahara. And there it was, my own reflection staring right back at me. I was teaching women to trust themselves while I was still outsourcing my own power. Oh my God, what a wake up call. I felt it right here. So let's talk about how we break free from this validation trap, right? It's actually a bit of an addiction. So it starts with the approval cycle, and I think you'll recognize this. First, you doubt your judgment because, hey, why not, right? We're so used to that. Then we say to ourselves, oh, I'll feel better if so and so tells me it's okay. So you share it with so and so. They say, wow, you're amazing. You're like, yeah, you feel some temporary relief. But then the doubt creeps back in, and you're like, you know what? I'm just going to check with someone else. So you seek more validation. And what happens is the cycle never ends. So you feel better for a moment, then doubt creeps in. You feel better for a moment, and then doubt creeps in. And by the end of it, everyone and their dog has weighed in. Notice I talk about dogs a lot. Everyone and their dog has weighed in on your amazing idea. But in the process, you've lost a piece of yourself. Does that make sense? Okay. So, as I've mentioned this before, but every time you seek validation, your inner wisdom gets a little offended. Maybe offended is not the right word. Maybe that's too strong, but it gets quieter, right? Your confidence erodes a little bit. And as I said earlier, your power diminishes. You're just giving it away, right? And your authenticity suffers and your soul dies a little. And we don't want that. We don't want that. So let's look at what it means and what it actually looks like to really trust your instinct. So number one, you've got to trust it, right? You have the instinct, you trust it. You have the idea, go for it. You end up making decisions without someone's approval or even an entire committee's approval. You learn to stand firm in your choices, even if there's some fear that it's not going to go the way you want, right? And does that sound familiar? Yeah. So you stand firm in your choices and you celebrate wins without external validation. It's not about what your neighbor thinks. It's not about what your business coach says. It's not even about what I say as your podcast host, right? It's about what is true to you. And living from your truth, not someone else's, is powerful. And dare I say, totally badass. So that's what the blueprint of freedom looks like, right? Okay, let's look at some practical implementations, because I always include practicality in these little mindfucks with Mahara. So again, daily check-ins. What decisions am I avoiding today? Oh, that's a hard one. My list used to be very long, to be honest. So where am I seeking approval? Unnecessary approval, I should qualify. What do I already know, but I'm afraid to trust? That's a big one. And this is a cool question. How can I honor my inner wisdom today? Ooh, how can I honor my inner wisdom today? Oh, I know, Dairy Queen. Those of you that know me well know that I have a love affair with Dairy Queen. Okay. Another thing that you can do is do a bit of a detox on the validation that you've experienced in your life. Start with small decisions. Practice trusting your gut. You have a question, ask yourself, oh, what does my gut tell me? Document your inner knowing. And I recommend this a lot. I'm a big journaler, but when you figure something out, write it down, celebrate it. Oh my God, I figured this shit out today. Okay, so document your inner knowing and celebrate your autonomous choices. When you go for it, don't ask for validation, celebrate it, right? Maybe Dairy Queen, maybe a pat on the back. It may be a manicure, but celebrate whenever you do that. You want to really build self-trust gradually. So I'm not suggesting that the biggest decision of your life up until this point, buying a house, or I don't know, could be anything, that you automatically go it all alone. This is a process. You want to learn to trust yourself and start small, right? Start small with consistent actions. Okay. Now we're going to do I'm going to suggest a little bit of deeper work on this need for validation. And so I'm going to invite you to think about and figure out what triggers your need for this validation. There's that bloody word again, trigger. I use it a lot, but it's powerful because there are things in our lives that make us go, oh, it could be, a trigger of shame, or in this case, it's a trigger for, we think, the need for validation. So identify what triggers you to want outside validation, right? And learn to create a different response. So if your initial response is, oh, I got to phone my friend, learn to create a different response. Oh, I'm just going to sit with this for a minute and allow myself to feel that need, but not take action on it, for example. So create a different response pattern. Practice self-reference. What do I mean by this? It's a recognition that you have the answers within. Refer back to yourself. So here's how I do it. And it's kind of funny, actually, but it lightens my day sometimes is, hey, Mahara, what do you think you should do here? And sometimes I refer to that Mahara as future CEO of this amazing empire, Mahara. And I remember the first time I did this, actually, I asked future CEO Mahara what to do in a certain situation. But practice self-reference, talk to yourself, right? And trust your experience. You didn't get here by a whim, right? You didn't get here just by accident. You've done a lot of work to create this amazing life that you currently have. So recognize the experience that you bring to your world every single day. And last but certainly not least, ladies, for the love of God, will you honor your wisdom? You have no idea what a blessing you are to this world. You have got so much wisdom inside of you. Never forget that. Honor it. All right. No joke here, even though I am going to try and make you laugh. Seeking validation, it's like asking everyone at the party if the outfit looks okay after you've already worn it, right? Honey, you're already at the party. You're dressed in the sparkle, right? You might as well dance. Stop asking for validation, because what if they say no? What are you going to do? Run home and change? I don't think so. Okay. waiting for everyone's approval, it's kind of like trying to get all your Instagram followers to agree on a pizza topping. It's never going to happen, people. It's just not going to happen. So let it go. Here is the uncomfortable truth, because you know I always mention them. Nobody tells you what breaking free from validation actually feels like. And it feels scary as hell at first. Now, some people will not like your newfound autonomy. They may feel a little bit out of sorts because you're not coming to them anymore. Too bad, so sad, that's their story. You are going to have to learn to sit with uncertainty. I've talked about this before, that for the most part, we don't know how to be uncomfortable with ourselves or our thoughts or our feelings. But here, you're going to have to learn how to, right? Uncertainty is not bad. It's just a thing, right? We don't need to make a story about it. Another truth, uncomfortable truth, is that not everyone's going to understand your choices. Again, okay, who cares, right? Another truth, ooh, this one was hard for me to wrap my head around, but I honor it. Your inner critic might throw a tantrum. Yes, that part of you that wants you to be perfect or better or the best, whatever the story is, they may have a bit of a hissy fit when you stop listening to the inner critic and you stop looking for outside validation and you start trusting the wisdom that I believe is underneath your inner critic. I'm going to let that sink in. It was an interesting ride for me. I'm telling you, the conversations in my head, I should have recorded them. I should have spoken them out. I want to make sure you understand that it's okay if you piss people off, even your inner critic, right? It's okay. This is your journey to badassery and your journey to feeling completely in control of your world. All right, truth seekers, it's time to stop outsourcing your power and start trusting your own damn wisdom. Ready to break free from the validation trap? You're nodding. Uh-huh. Okay, beautiful. Head over to my website, www.mindfulnesswithmahara.com, and book your complimentary session with me. Remember, your inner wisdom is way smarter than anybody on Instagram. Peace out, truth seekers.